So, as we are nearing the end of this event, I would like to introduce the closing session of the forum, entitled An Agenda for Family Support Research in Europe, which will be chaired by Javier de Frutos, who is Deputy Director of Social Rights in the Spanish Federation of Municipalities and Provinces. So, the floor is yours, Javier.
Working yet? Probably now?
Yes? Yes. Good afternoon. I want to thank all the people and entities that have participated in the development of this meeting on my behalf and on behalf of the Spanish Federation of Municipalities and Provinces. Today we have had the opportunity to learn about the results of the EuroFamNet project. From the process point of view, EuroFam has achieved three very important results. Consolidate a workspace between researchers from over Europe specialized in policies and practices to support families and children. Generate a link between public institutions, specialized entities, academy, and professionals. And finally, propose a debate on the needs that are emerging at the European level in order to strengthen the structure and resources to support families and children. From the content point of view, EuroFamNet has achieved three results that we have had the opportunity to learn about in detail today. Know the state of the question in different European countries and propose a common language to analyze the policies and practices carried out in each one of them. Identify good practices and evidence basis in order to disseminate them and improve professional practice. And finally, establish common elements for a commitment to the quality of the actions. In short, defend the quality criteria of the practices. In this final session, we will have the opportunity to know more about the agenda for family support research in Europe. It's a pleasure for me to introduce John Canavan and Lucia Jimenez, Vice Chair and Chair of the Action, on behalf of EuroFamNet.
Thank you, Javier. So our title of our last session is An Agenda for Family Support Research in Europe. I think we possibly, as the phrase goes, we've sold you a pup, which means we didn't really tell you the truth because we don't have an agenda for family support research in Europe to present this afternoon. What we have probably, though, is, I suppose, just a space for us to reflect because that agenda comes from the group that's here and so on. We do have some ideas, obviously, and some obvious points from today's work to talk about. So, I mean, just to say on my own behalf as well, it's brilliant to be here and it's really exciting. I've had a really very satisfying and enjoyable day today, just listening to colleagues' work. So just on this point, we're talking about sustainability on this slide, and sustainability is it really in a way. You know, we've done, as David Herrera pointed out to me this morning, well, it's more than 4 years. It's 4 years of cost, but we've actually had maybe 5 or 6 years of thinking about, you know, an agenda for European family support. So it's just important to highlight that. And I was thinking about this and thinking, well, actually, this was actually an experiment. It was an experiment that aimed to test the value of family support as a focus for research, for policy and practice at a European level. Something that actually makes a difference to the lives of children, young people, parents and families. And I'm pleased to hear that phrase and those collection of words being used repeatedly and consistently today, because that's what it's all about ultimately. I think we can safely say within an experimental frame that, and I don't know what kind of an experiment it was, but we have demonstrated the value of family support. We have shown that this is a worthwhile thing, and if anything tells us that, it's the outputs that have been displayed for the last 3 content sessions. So that's just really, really important to make that point. I would suggest we could use the term, we have proof of concept at a European level now. So we want to sustain, and what is it that we want to sustain? Well, we want to sustain the conceptual, policy and practice focus of the network. We don't want something that is about academic life only or research only. We don't want something that's about policy only or practice only. We've shown and talked about how we need to integrate and bring these different worlds into dialogue continuously. And we also then need to sustain, and this is the difficult part, the organisational structures and processes for the network. And how do we do that? I suppose, well, we need money, but that's another question or story. But one of the things that we can talk about today and share with other colleagues who are not in the network is that we did some work around sustainability and we surveyed our members, and we have strong support from the existing members of the network to continue and sustain EuroFamNet. And that's really, really important because we do know, and it's worth acknowledging it, the nature of cost as a funding mechanism. It helped us meet, it helped us have wonderful events like today, but it didn't help us and pay for research. So that's really important to acknowledge that it's the commitment of the people that sustains the network, and we seem to have that, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow at our management committee meeting. But we also have the beginnings of a plan. So it is our intention to continue, it is our intention to sustain. And just to really reinforce that point now in this afternoon's meeting. So what might be some implications or next steps or our next agenda? What does that begin to look like? Well, I think as I said, we want to retain our, the systemic perspective where we bring these things together. That's a given, and that's something that we have a strong commitment for. I'm not sure if the wording of the next point is accurate, because I was just so pleased and I really enjoyed and appreciated, and I don't know, it really hit me hard, I suppose, the last presentation in terms of our family support skills and competencies, because as Carmel Devaney knows, we've never had that. We've never had something that really put that down and worked it out in a systematic and rigorous way. There's more to be done, of course, to test it out in meaningful ways with children and families, to develop the interprofessional nature of this. Of course, that has to happen. But it was wonderful to see this enumerated. What we have done less, and we put our hands up, I think, and acknowledge it. We've tried. And again, it's to do with the complexity and the challenge, is to involve children, young people and families' voices more in the work of the network. And the word transformative is put there on purpose. It's put there intentionally. Because when we listen to children and young people, when we listen to parents, we change what we do. And just a small sideways conversation, I supervised a PhD of a person who did work with 3-year-old children about what they wanted in services. So it was for a policy process. It is possible, it is meaningful, and it is valid, and we should do it. And obviously we have to support implementation. And again, picking up on some of the conversations I've had during the day, we have to be careful not to start a whole new set of things, because we have a lot, and we have a lot that we want to implement. And particularly given the input from Working Group 3 this afternoon in terms of moving forward at national level and implementing the quality standards, the frameworks and so on. And we'll hear some more about that in a few minutes. Just to maybe to finish my point and to steal some ideas again that I've been doing all day, I heard from Angela Abela that family is a monster. I thought it was a great expression, that we have to just move along very, very slowly and carefully all of the time. So again, we'll keep pushing the monster that is family along. So I'll hand over to Lucia.
Thank you, John. So what we wanted now is to follow this presentation, but providing you an example, a practical example or a specific example about how we are planning moving forward in this Family Support European agenda. And for that purpose, we want to share with you what will be our immediate step. And that immediate step come from this, what have been expressed today by colleagues from Working Group 2 this variability of family support that has been recognized in different sessions, and also the value. I think the word that has been used in the last session has been sensitive implementation. And for sure there is need for that variability to be adjusted to the realities in so different countries, so different families, so different situations, and so on. But as has been also said in another session, that differences cannot hinder inequalities. So we have the responsibility to guarantee the quality assurance of family support. It's so nice that it seems that I'm repeating because we have a coherent discourse along all the day, but this is something that we want really to focus on. And this focus refers to what has been called the implementation challenge, that has been also named today. And it's not nothing new that I'm saying. It's something that for us as family support workers or researchers, we know this is a challenge for the discipline, probably for the last decade. How can we really go with these quality standards, with all the stuff that we are progressing and introduce really in the context, in the real context of implementation, but not consider the context of implementation as something that we have to randomize or to control for or to avoid or to unify, but really embrace that complexity. How do we gain that cultural validity? How can we make that all this stuff is significant and is relevant in those complex, evolving and dynamic contexts? And for that, I have to refer again of that idea about how can we implement EBP, evidence-based practices, and from that recognition of the need for the integration with the science, policy, and practice. And we wanted also to emphasize that with this angle, the European Quality Framework for Social Services is a relevant one for us. It's a voluntary framework that was established in 2010 and as has been recognized by the European Commission, the implementation has not gone that far yet. So it's our proposal to progress on quality assurance in family support provision is aligned with that framework. In that framework, there are a list of principles that are settled, but there are not specific standards about how can we really implement this quality assurance. And we think that on that regard is where Eurofamnet can provide, well, I don't want to use the word solution, but maybe some guidelines to progress in. We consider that we are now, we could say, in the right place or in the right moment, because as it has been expressed by our colleagues from Working Group 3, we have identified which are the quality standards. And this has been done from a very systemic perspective, going beyond targeted programs, taking in consideration design, implementation, and evaluation stages. So we have a lot of information about what should be done. And we can put that into practice considering how is family being provided, as colleagues from Working Group 2 has been telling us. How is family support being conceptualized? What are the typologies, if we can name in that way, of family provision according to differences at country level and also inter-country level. And we can put that in conjunction with the family support workforce skills that have been in the last session posted, those interprofessional skills that need to be trained and that have been identified. And our proposal for this is to design a quality assurance protocol, and our proposal is to go at the country level and ask the national working groups and the countries that are participating in Eurofamnet to think about, well, how they are in terms of challenges, in terms of resources. So the idea is to plan a national improvement plan. I think that there was in one session about national action plans. There was a call, I think it was from Cecile before. So as I said, it's really coherent, the discourse that for sure it was not pre-prepared, but that we have this common sense or this common language about what has to be the next step. So we think that these national improvement plans can be a very important tool because can be very specific, as I say, about what are the resources, what are the challenges. It's also a tool to guide a self-evaluation process, to identify how to progress, to also establish objectives at the short, at the mid, at the long term that can vary, can be different from different countries. And that's also, well, that's a way to guarantee that cultural validity I was referring. And for sure has to be specific in terms of different aspects, but one that has been emphasized today, and I want to reinforce again, is the training of skills. So which are the skills that we need to train and that we need to promote? And for sure, for that national level work, we'll be able to compile that work, to integrate that work, to have lessons learned from there, and we hope that we can move to the European level, and then also to provide some guidelines about what are the next steps in terms of decision-making at European level. The way of the methodology that we are proposing to do this is for sure that we have this network that has been established. And what we want to go is in deep of the national working groups that have been mentioned today. And I want to make explicit that we have been mapping in the Eurofamnet countries who are the key actors in family support, and that means researchers, but also practitioners associations, children and family representatives, public services at the local, at the regional and the national level, and other key actors, for example, the coordinators for child guarantee at the national level. So we can work, and our proposal is to work from the national working groups, but not forgetting all the expertise we have gained at the European level. And remember that we count on an advisory board of a large number of European entities that are working on family support at this level and can also help us to interplay. So as you can see here, what we are doing is reinforcing this double layer structure that I was referring this morning. And we think that this is a very appropriate way to produce what has been called, like by the World Health Organization, like the local and global evidence. So we can work at the local level to produce global evidence, and at the same way we are going back. So we are trying to transfer the lessons learned among countries and trying to implement what's valid for us. And our proposal comes from a co-production approach in terms of sectors, in terms of disciplines, but also in terms of actors. And I want to reinforce the idea that has been presented by Professor Canavan about the transformative role of children and families. As was also said this morning, we have still to progress on that. And this is a very good opportunity to give the proper voice to children and families in this initiative. And we hope that from this initiative we are able to reinforce evidence in formal structures. What we are proposing is a systemic change, and we are not saying that we are doing everything in a shot. That would be probably naive. But what we are saying is that we think that this way of working is a guarantee of engagement of the key stakeholders, the key actors that need to be involved. Also a guarantee of reliability of the information that we are providing and the solutions that we are suggesting, and also a guarantee for sustainability, what we think is very important. And because we are proposing this methodology, you can see in the title of the slide that we are thinking about building up evidence-based and culturally informed models of professional practice in plural, because there is no one single solution, and probably that's another naive idea. So we don't know the end of the road, but what we know is that we want to progress on that. And I want to go back, and this is our end slide, with this metaphor that Professor Canavan used this morning to say, well, this is just a specific example, so this is not our full agenda. We are working in several angles, we are working in several ways, but I hope this example was able to capture the ambition that we have for this network for the future. And as it was said this morning, this is a continuous work, continuous progress. And our objective is try to strengthen that evidence ecosystem in family support. We see ourselves, we see Eurofamnet as has been called by the, I would say, the Global Commission to address societal challenges as evidence hybrid intermediary. So we hope that we can provide evidence, we hope that we can support decision makers, also maybe provide insights for other evidence producers, and support state provision, but in interaction with the international and the European frameworks. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, John. And now it's a pleasure for me to introduce Maria José Rodrigo López, Coordinator of the Advisory Committee of the Ministry of Social Rights and 2030 Agenda in Positive Parenting.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon again. I'm very happy to be assigned to this respondent role because it gives me the opportunity to resonate with many of the things that have been said during the whole busy day, but I think wonderful because we are ending but not ending, and that is really encouraging all of us. And I will focus on the, I think, timely issue of how to make progress. That is a critical question, how to make progress from family support to quality family support as a right of the child and family. So don't only have a right for the family support, but for the quality family support. That's why the game we are playing. And so the points raised will be around three aspects that I think are important. That's the need for an adaptation of the evidence-based movement when it comes to the social intervention. That I think is critical to avoid some kind of reluctance or negative attitudes in our colleagues and even in the professionals when they see others alien frameworks into their field. And so the need for a systemic transformation in family support provision system that is necessary for making this jump. But I will showcase, not because we are the best, but because we are on the way, and that is good for us, and I think as an example for others, is the initiative of Families in Positive, initiative that we are promoting in Spain for the quality assurance. And I end up with some concluding remarks. Going to the first point, EBP adoption to social intervention in child and family support. We cannot take for granted that the things that has been done in another field are good for us. So I think it's a really achievement to find out a corpus of quality standards, and that has been wonderful for medicine. That was formalized in 2001. And also I remember for clinical psychology in the APA Association. And that was very good because there was a system that could be used evidence from the scientific part, from the scientific evidence, and also goes into the practice and taking into account, that was said, the interest or the values of in this case, the patients. But in our case, I wonder whether we had to embrace this such a directional, translational model. Because we think that we are living in a field in which we want to use the evidence from the three sides of the triangle and trying to integrate them into a collaborative framework. This is nothing that should be done only from one part of the triangle. I think we should take into account the three sides. And I will illustrate with three types of direction lines that we can take for achieving these relational translational efforts. And the first one has to mean to go from, I'm talking about the scientific experience, we have to move, at least not to abandon totally, but just to move from the exclusive reliance on the experimental evidence and go towards a more community-based evidence. And in this case, we have to make a lot of new questions. For instance, do we meet the needs of the family? Are we achieving the intended populations? Do we assess very well the implementation process? Do we take into account all the organizational efforts that have to be made in the service just to introduce these evidence-based programs and interventions into the mainstream of the services? All these are questions that have to be made when we are in this community-based evidence approach that has to be, I think, has to be embraced. But it's also important to go, when we talk about the experience, to move from the individual experience of particular professionals and to move into a more consensual knowledge or to more consensual evidence, coming from instance from the teamwork, from the work that has been decided into several groups, several services, for the work done across sectors. I will tell about that. And so in this sense, the evidence that is produced at the individual level when we are talking about professionals has to be upgraded to a level in which we almost have a sort of consensual knowledge, or consensual evidence. But it's also important to go from the idea that we have clients, we have users, we have patients, because we have subjects of rights. It has been said many times during this day. And that means that we should mandatorily embrace this sort of collaborative alliance with the family when we are just doing research or doing work with that. For instance, the evaluation, the intervention has to be done with this framework of alliance that, by the way, comes from the therapeutical side. This type of alliance that is mandatory when you have patient. It should be mandatory when you have subjects of rights, but also to increase the participation of the family. We're always talking about that. It's never enough what we are doing. We should do more for that, because this is their right. Their right to also to give their points of view on the quality of the support they are receiving. And they have a lot of things to say that still we have made more effort to dig in that, and then to know what are the kind of suggestions and ideas they have for improving the quality of the services. But then we have to enlarge the quality of the indicators we got, and also the type of indicators, because we do not have, we should enlarge, because we do not have to have only indicators for the programs, for the quality of the programs, but also indicators for the quality of the services as an organization, for the way they function and the way they had their aims, the way they allowed the professionals to do their job, etc. And also, of course, the way they interact, the families with the professionals, the way we create the scenario for these interactions taking place. So that means more, going more into the details of these quality standards. But this is not enough. Imagine that we have decided and we have a clear group, clear set of quality indicators. That could be okay, but it is not enough, because we have to move then from quality standards to a model of professional practice. And that means to engage and to involve all the provision system as such. And the provision systems, has been said many times during the day, is very complex. It's very complex and very diverse, even in the same country and of course across countries. And is one sources of this diversity is the kind of legal and family family plans that they are in this country or in this place, and also because we have different combination of networks. We have different way to combine the private, the public, and the NGO cooperation. But most of it we had a lot of diversity in terms of the target population. It's not the same, a universal approach than a selective or indicated approach. We have also differences in the modalities of delivering our programs. But also we have difference, and that is very important, in the I would say, the culture of the evaluation and the intervention that we have the different types of professionals. And also, it is important to take into account that we come from different sectors. That also has been said. So that means that, well, we are dealing with a quite impressive challenge to adapt these quality standards that can look very well into the models of professional practice. As in doing so, So we have to perform or undertake a systemic transformation of the support provision system at national, regional, and local levels. And here are some possible directions of change that I suggest. Go from the multi-system of high-needed families only, because in this case, we do not assure that the community are well-resourced. It can be a high system of high-needed families in an under-resourced communities. And that was a very bad combination because this goes directly to the exclusion and the stigmatizing of these groups. So we have to move towards the idea of well-resourced communities. So now, in all the legal, for instance, the disinstitutionalization, that here in Spain we have a lot of things about that, it's recommended to build up a healthy and powerful communities for everybody, for family diversity. It has to be done in an inclusive way, and then, as the progressive universalists used to say, to add what is needed, but add, not instead of, because even those families that come from the social protection system needs to ground on the territory, needs to have a very good community networks and the positive parenting programs flourishing better when there is a rich set of resources available to the community. So we have to go for that, to escape from this multi-assistance of very few high-needed families. Although it was necessary at the beginning, is no longer the case. We have to go down into the back system. But also I think we have to move from the fragmented disciplinary practice. And that is typical because we belong to different traditions. We are psychologists, social workers, social educators, pedagogists, but also work in different sectors. And that means that we are almost feel obliged to keep ourselves in our own part of the, for instance, of the work case. Imagine in a planning for the family that every professional said a different saying about what this family needs. But sometimes it's even worse because they just distribute, this is your case, this is your case, this is your case, and there's nothing around the family. There's nothing really built up in terms of integrated view of what this family needs. But we have to go up to this disciplinary line and to go more to this and even more these transdisciplinary practices that mean building conceptual frameworks, building, for instance, protocols, sharing protocols, building ways to address the family needs, for instance, in terms of strengths and resilience instead of just deficitary views. And that would be very good because then that will be prepare the collaborative work that has to be done. And also we have to avoid or escape from overcharging the social services as if they were the only one that are in charge or responsible for defending the children's rights. That is a problem because they are feeling totally overwhelmed. And you know, it happens when you go with the new things to say, no, because no, we cannot do it more. And I think they are right, because they are not only the ones responsible for, all of them has to be committed with this idea of child protection. So we need to go cross-sectorial in this sense, and has this view that the well-being of the children is not only a matter of child protection or vulnerable families, it's the matter of all the services that are around the family. And so just telling a few words about our model of Families in Positive initiative, just to say that we have a web page, I think it has been announced in one of the posters, That is a meeting point for the families and for all as an extranet and also in the intranet for professionals and for students and researchers, etc. And we started in 2009 with this idea of endorsing the positive parenting initiative of the Council of Europe. We liked very much at that time because it was a really a modern view of what really means be a parent or be a father or a mother, and also for the idea of co-responsibility of the state to create the conditions for the exercise of positive parenting. So then all the kind of culpability that goes to the family has to be shared and make in a co-responsible way with the institutions. And we are going in this way because then the things will be function better, much better. And in doing that, we use three types of driving forces, we can say. The first one is this collaborative framework we have been talking about, this trilateral collaborative framework that we did with the Ministry of Social Rights and Agenda 2030, also the Spanish Federation of Municipalities and Provinces, and my wonderful group of 7 universities, public universities that I love very much to coordinate, because all of them can be really, really very, very important figures by themselves, but we work together very well. And we feel that we are somehow working out a triangle between these informed policymakers, the other hand, the professionals, the researchers. So this could be done in this sort of collaborative framework. But we also use or try to make sense to this relational, translational model that I mentioned before, because we did this kind of consensual work concerning these guidelines for best practices that are, of course, made up from the evidence, from scientific evidence, but also from the professional's point of view, and also what we call the guidance for interprofessional competences. That also has been working not only with professionals, but also with professional schools, professional services. But no, it is called schools. That is very important because these schools are always, you know, in a very competitive way, because they say, well, psychologists are very good on that, social workers on that, and they will say, well, I just give it that for you. I do not go to get into that. Let's go a little bit up to that. And then let's find it in a collaborative place where we have to do a lot in collaboration across sectors and also across disciplines. And then that is a new way to work in an open space that is not already worked out. And that is a way to go into the very core of the system, where precisely there is the services, the professionals, or the practitioners, and the families. And finally, also we got, and that is a very good idea, I think, an official recognition of those services, of those team works that likes to receive a sort of acknowledgement of the things they are doing. But this has to be facilitated somehow. So we devised an online protocol that is an intranet, and they build a sort of self-reflection scenario to think about what usually do not have time, which is the reflection on the practice that is taking place. And using these standards provide in our online protocol as a way to, you know, to contrast to what extent they are doing what is supposed to be done. And so then from that, they receive immediately, when they just finish the work, they receive a report, an automatic report, giving them all the strengths, but also the weakness that should be somehow improved. And then if they are invited, if they want to do an improvement plan. That should be done also in coordination with the service and also receive the official support of the entity, because we want always to be not only for one professional, but for the entity. And then they send about all the documents to the platform, and then we have a committee to decide at last if they deserve or not this acknowledgement. And that has been working very much, and we have also in the extranet, we have a list of the official recognition that has been provided. And then coming to my end, I think is the word evidence ecology that has been using. I borrow the term from the World Health Organization in 2021. That was very interesting because they have to face a problem that is even bigger like us, but they have more traditions because they started earlier with these traditions of quality standards. And they speak about the ecologies, because it's ecology when you produce evidence, you transfer the evidence, but also you apply it into the practical settings. You cannot, you have to do all the way. And then I think this is exactly what we need for this quality family support we are talking about. But first we have to engage, I think it's a lot of things to be done on that, engage the support providers, engage also the stakeholders to advocate for this quality family support. And also to embark, of course, the participation of the children and the families in this process. Also, we have to, it's very important to disseminate and apply this type of EBP guidelines across the sectors. We started only with the social services, but then we realized that we have to use or enlarge somehow and go to other sectors. But all of them has something to do with the families, the schools and the primary health care system, etc., etc. So we try also to go along the process of sectorial advancement. And family, it's also important to ensure the sustainability of the system. But in this case, it's even worse because we come from a system which is a prevention and promotion system that is the first one that breaks down when we have a crisis. And that is it's very cost in terms of money, but also in terms of suffering. But still, this is the first measure that we take. You will break down the basement of the protective system. So we have to try to escape from that and ensure the sustainability. And finally, we have to go, now that we are in a well position, we have to go to the European family policy level and see that they need to include, of course with our advice, they need to include recommendations at this family, at this quality level. Otherwise, we will meet a lot of inequalities in the social rights of children and families. So we have to be there. We have to be there, and that could be a thing to be done in the future, because I am really convinced that that our Eurofamnet, the key roles that we have now in the Eurofamnet, will be continue. And so somehow we will manage, I can tell you. And so that will mean that we can still promote to beyond that point, promote this wonderful aim of helping and guarantee the child rights and the family support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all your contributions.
Very much to all the speakers for a very inspiring closing session. We will now see the final scene performance by Mercedes and Pepa, in which we will see the outcome of their process.
Vale. Ay, que va, todavía me queda un tema todavía. No, I'm still not there. I still have something pending. How are you? How are you? Are you fine? Oh, I'm still here. No, of course not. No, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. No, that's not true. Yes, one second. And tomorrow, in the job, what are we going to do? Are we going to do it in your house, or why don't you come to my house? You've never been in my house. Come on home. Yeah, much better. You come over. Thank you. Okay. Very good. That's good.
Pepa, who are you talking to?
I'm speaking with Marta. Bye, Marta. Bye-bye.
I got something for you.
Yes, how exciting.
With my first salary, finally.
Oh, no.
Just this silly thing I got you. Try it on.
Oh, my God.
Please try it on.
Thank you.
Do you like
Thank
it?
you very much.
Can you help me? You look so good.
Thank you very much. I love it.
Have a seat. Do you like my scarf?
Did you buy it?
Yes. There's one thing I wanted to tell you,
Yeah,
Pepa.
what? Hi, Mom.
Listen, darling, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all these months. I felt so overwhelmed and so deep into my troubles, and I wasn't really looking at you or listening to you. And I'm sorry. All I wanted to do was cry and cry because we weren't pulling through, and I was very scared. I was so scared that we would end up evicted and out on the streets. I was scared that you wouldn't have a future. I was scared that living in this neighborhood would harm you and you would end up using drugs.
I'm really sorry. That's not the message I wanted to convey. I was very, very, very concerned. I was very worried. Oof, what a horrible situation. But now the situation is much better. No?
Well, I have true hope now, and I trust that we will make it.
Yes. Now I always tell you not to cry, and I'm the one crying now.
My darling, what do you want to be?
I don't know.
Study. I want you to have hope.
I don't know. I would like to become a vet.
A vet, of course. Of course, my girl. We will do it together because we're not alone.
Yes. Yes.
Want to go out for a walk?
Yes, let's go for a walk, Mom. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The work carried out by the network and its consolidation as a stable will contribute to improve the situation of families, promoting positive parenting, and improving society as a whole. Thank you very much for your attention. I share with you our best wishes for the present and future of this project. Y quería finalmente agradecer.
Finally, even at the risk of being repetitive, I would like to thank the ministry for their permanent cooperation with Felix Barajas, Ms. Martin, and everyone in Eurofamnet represented here by Lucia, John, and Maria Jose for all the hard work they have put into this. The whole team of the University of Seville, it is a pleasure to work with all of you. I would like to thank the Caixa Forum team for dealing with all these details, putting the room together and making sure sound and streaming works. I would like to thank La Rueca and Antonio for putting the event together and for keeping up that reassuring smile at all times. Certainly, I would like to thank the Ponte Foundation for their acting performance, which has given a very interesting flavor to all of our sessions, and our interpreters, without whom we wouldn't have been able to hold a bilingual session. And thanks Jordan, who always makes sure that these events are fully accessible to the impaired, thanks to sign language. And if I forgot anyone, please consider yourselves acknowledged as well.
Thank you, Javier, for that acknowledgement. As family support experts, we all know about the importance that a proper closing have in intervention. So we want to continue with this acknowledgement because we think that it's the proper way to close this event. And I will do this in behalf of the Vice Chair and myself, and for sure, with the basis of Eurofamnet behind. And I want to start with all the presenters that have joined us today. We know how busy our agendas are, regardless if we are in practice, in research, or whatever. So thank you for all the work that is behind preparing, that I cannot remember how many months we have been preparing in advance, and all the insights from all the people was how well the presentations were prepared. And it's because there was a lot of work behind. And as you have been able to see, we reached a really high level of experts, each in his area, from research, from policy and practice. So thank you for them for being here. And I want all to continue saying thank you and recognizing all the work that is behind. We have been talking about a large network and a large group of people, and that's Eurofamnet. And today it has been also recognized how much the amazing amount of work that has been done. And that's a group work. And we have the privilege to be here speaking on behalf of a large group of people. I cannot tell the list of almost 200 names that are behind, but thank you for all the Eurofamnet members to all the work that you have been doing there. And I cannot put in the list that long list of 200 names, you know who you are, but I want to emphasize maybe some of them that I was able to put into a slide. So I want to here to recognize the work of what we call the scientific committee for this event, but that is the core group, and together with our colleague Maria Jose Rodrigo, that has been also supported scientifically. But it's not only the work for this event, but has been the work of leadership for all these past years, and all the people that is involved in the network know really well what I'm talking about. So thank you for all of you to all the work that you have been doing. And I want to say, and this is very particular, but I want to emphasize that I will always say a special word for our Vice Chair, John Kahneman, that has done a tremendous work here. And I say in a note this morning that not only the wisdom that you can see and the patience that is also, I think, a main character for him, but it's a security network, and it's the way, and it's my personal feeling, you know, that as you say for La Rueca, that I have that feeling, you know, every time, everything is going to be okay. So that's a security network, so thank you, John, for that. In the preparation, so I'm talking as, we have been presenting this strong 4-year research program, and I want also to say some words specifically for the preparation of this event. And you can see there the names of what we call the executive committee, and for sure we have the institutional part that I was referring this morning. I want to reinforce again the University of Galway, the University of Seville in collaboration with the research foundation of the University of Seville, as also the SAFAM association. But I wanted to make a specific mention of the people that has been involved there. And we have our colleague Javier de Frutos from the Spanish Federation of Municipalities of Provinces. I think he will rest when we leave Madrid. So probably never that stress for just a one-day event. So thank you, Javier, for all that support. And for sure, you can see the names there of Susana Martin and Felix Barajas from the Spanish Ministry of Social Rights and Agenda 2030 that have played a very relevant role. And our colleague Maria Jose Rodrigo, that was in representation of the Spanish National Working Group in Eurofamnet, but also this Spanish group of universities that have been joining us today and are working closely with the Spanish Ministry and the Federation. And then I take also the opportunity to say thank you for that nicely closing, and thank you for reflecting together with us. And I want to say my last but not least words for our organizing committee that have been making possible that everything work today today, together with La Rueca, as Javier said, thank you for your professional work today, and always driven in a nice manner. And I want also to say a word to my local team that have been working hard to make this possible, from the telegram, through the posters, going through the players and the scenification and the nice dinner that we will enjoy later. So thank you for all that work. And you have there the list of the colleges that have been working, but I want to say a specific word for our college and Jean Grasmeijer. You have been seeing the excellent work that she done today. All the Eurofamily members know the excellent work she has been doing for the last 4 years. And that's, well, today is just an example, you know, a big example of what has been done the last 4 years. So thank you for that and for taking this challenge today. And also I want to say another special thank to our virtual networking support grant manager, Ana Pizarro, that today has been behind the scenes, but you know that she's always behind it. She's behind the emails, behind a lot of work. So again, thank you for making all this possible. I hope you enjoyed the event, and before finishing, I want to give the floor to Vice Chair, because maybe he wants also to say some words. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucia. And I mean, just to reiterate my own personal thanks to all colleagues involved, and particularly, I would say, colleagues, the local organising team from Seville, but also colleagues in Madrid. The overall experience of being here has been wonderful. We've been so welcomed and so well looked after, and it's really lovely. As an Irish person, where we pride ourselves on looking after people and being friendly and warm, I certainly have had a fantastic experience and a real experience of being cared for and looked after by all colleagues. So just to say thank you so much for that. I mean, obviously, we can't finish without saying thanks to the person who matters most in all of this, which is Dr. Lucia Jimenez. Everybody knows this, so we'll have the... And it's right that the applause should be sustained, because, again, people understand, maybe at a general level, but I can assure you that the amount of efforts that has gone behind this action for the last 4 years, with the support of Alejandro, of course, as well on the financial side, but the sheer amount of bureaucracy, administration, contacts, and so on, and the management of all of that, with such grace and such, I don't know if I'm patient, I think Lucia Jimenez is patient, I don't know if I am, patience and good humour, I have to say, has been something to behold, and I've learned hugely from working with her over the last few years. So that will be my final words, just to say thank you so much, Lucia.
On behalf of Eurofamnet, we just wanted to take a brief moment to acknowledge and say thank you to Lucia Jimenez and John Canavan as our chair and vice chair of the action for their tremendous amount of work over the past 4 years, and that comes with a little gift as well.